My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Right, it is currently 8:07 a.m. and this is documentation of the fake sun that is remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments, a third-party facilitating venue. And you know that based on the presence of the engineered light, and you are also aware of the fact that the presence of the engineered light is not the product of the sun, okay? But boy, the entity is keeping this illusion of what is supposed to be sunlight, hence the sun. And I'm breaking this down. This is evidence of criminal surveillance of a demonic nature and the specific environment, speaking to the removal of any privacy in a what would ordinarily be looked upon and legally analyzed as a private residential area, a private apartment. All right, this is not a private space. This is where criminal surveillance is underway. This is all engineered light. And this is also that which is analyzed when you're juxtaposing what was happening on this day at the same time at 8:07 a.m. on February 15, 2024, where the fake sun is remaining over the top of my head as I'm capturing it at 8:07 a.m., walking outside of my apartment after I captured the sunrise through my living room window in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. And so this is the engineered light that's framing the door like it is all day long. All day long, even in the dark, where the fake sun is to the east of this door, has nothing to do with this engineer light that just appears on the ceiling. This is where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking with the people. This is where the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking with the people. This is where you are understanding the city of Ontario is engaged in criminal surveillance, and that entirely corrupt municipality is engaged in the systematic criminal maintenance of surveillance in concert with the population. They are criminally contributing to public corruption. They are engaging in a massive sex offense, and they are engaged in the ongoing facilitation of it, including engaging in psychological torture and ongoing federal harassment while they are monitoring the evidence that belongs to the federal government, not the state, and they're also going to be prosecuted for that, which is obstruction. And the people of the state are sharing in that criminal system. All right, so I just want you to see right here where the entity's keeping the sun over Alvarado Gardens at 8:07 a.m. There is no sunlight that's ever going to be produced, even if that was the sun, through the peephole. Okay, what is over my front door in Los Angeles, not creating any light activity around the front door in Ontario at Woodside Senior Apartments, and neither would the sun be that which is creating sunlight that's aiming through the door, the crevices of the door. This is all maintenance of engineered light, where the entity is engaged in 24-hour psychological torture. And the fake sun, as I already captured in images, is right here. It is in perfect alignment with where it remains as I captured on video video at 8:31 in the morning, the Ontario Police. And this is, again, the entity is systematically monitoring while the people of the state cross path, living under a fake sun, engaging in stalking with activity under a fake sun, engaging in psychological torture, and they look walking around on canes. And I'm documenting the ongoing earthquake-like conduct, the ongoing invasion of privacy, the ongoing sexual monitoring in the bathroom, the ongoing terrorism with the police department. Do not be fooled by the elderly walking around on canes. She's monitoring. Right, while the sun is over Alvarado Gardens, there's no sunlight. And that's giving context to the horn that's sounding. That's a demon that's monitoring right here. And you know that because this fake sun remains over this roof after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the demonic environment where criminal surveillance at Woodside Senior Apartments is underway, and Paul Leon, a mayor, is monitoring my genitalia and is monitoring and invading my privacy. And that demon knows that I've documented him, and the fact that he still keeps me under surveillance through the corrupt police, through the entity, and contributes to that, psychologically tortures me while I name him, while I identify the people of the state, while I compare his criminal conduct with that of Karen Bass. That is speaking to the removal of that domestic terrorist leader. This is impossible light, and this is the environment where you're recognizing the overall pattern of conduct. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is where the entity keeps the fake sun all day long. And there is no sun that's ever going to be over Alvarado Gardens while I'm capturing that P.O.C., which is identified through the maintenance of the light source, which is not the sun, sitting on the roof for the duration of the day, because that's where it is at this side of the same building after 4 o'clock in the evening. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:11 a.m. and I do remain subject to criminal surveillance. This is all manner of engineered light. Sunlight does not come underneath into structures and reaching into the depths. It does not pierce through peepholes. You're looking at psychopaths that are monitoring me over the age of 55, walking by on a cane. And then you're going to be mindful of the fact that they enjoy and they're gratified by sexually violent conduct, by harassing me 24 hours a day. They do not go to sleep. They do not engage in ever taking a break from gang stalking, and the demon in Unit 55 is the evidence of it. And they're all being prosecuted for what I'm documenting on a 24-hour basis, which is, again, federal group stalking and monitoring. This is the light source that remains the evidence of the light source, but it is not the product of sunlight. This is the evidence of criminal surveillance at what is a facilitating venue, not a private residential area at all. And they shall be prosecuted. AVANATH Capital Management is a gang stalking landlord, just like Speaker Companies, a gang stalking landlord, replete with the hallmark targeting me, psychologically torturing me, criminally interfering with my quiet enjoyment for purposes of the surveillance that I was subject to in the workplace and my private space. The target individual is the only one that is maintaining the constitutionally protected private space that the entity itself is invading, criminally invading. All right, it is currently 8:12 a.m. This is P.O.C. Reference the documentation captured today in 2024 where the entity has a light source over me at Alvarado Gardens. There is never any sun that's going to be over Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario if that was the natural environment in Los Angeles, which you already know that wasn't. Even before I relocated to Los Angeles, I have a wealth of documentation that I'm still publishing online showing the entity maintain a specific environment. For example, the light source remaining for the duration of the day at Ovid Family Community Library. And even while it's at Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, it's not going to be hovering over the roof of Woodside Senior Apartments, rising and setting in alignment to me at apartment number 51. It is, again, 8:13 a.m. and this is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 9:21 a.m. on Saturday, February 15th, 2025. This is documentation regarding the ongoing criminal monitoring that the people of the state are engaging in with impunity. Indeed, as I remain subject to criminal surveillance, gang stalking by the people of the state that are criminally maintaining surveillance on behalf of the state of California, acting via the city of Ontario, that is engaging in what is psychological torture and criminal stalking of an unprecedented nature. They are gang stalking, group stalking with the people of the state. And this is a facilitating venue where the landlord, AVANATH Capital Management, headquartered in Orange County, a documented county and city as well, in Irvine, they're engaged in the P.O.C. and also AVANATH Capital Management is engaged in the P.O.C. by virtue of its property being the facilitating venue where the government and the people of the state are using this facilitating venue. It's designated as a facilitating venue, not a private property, and nothing that AVANATH Capital Management has any constitutionally protected rights to gang stalk through its employees, which it is, to gang stalk through the people of the state through whom they are profiting, which is a criminal act. and it is in opposition to public policy, which they are, AVANATH is, and they're also gang stalking in concert with the population that comes onto the grounds to engage in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state, with the state, and the state itself is gang stalking on the property, all around the property, and in the sky space of what is Woodside Senior Apartments. This is where the demon in unit number 55, let me go ahead and document who this demon is first. She's going to a mental ward. This is the sky space where the entity is flying over by helicopter, flying over by commercial planes. This has no location anywhere near Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where the entity kept the fake sun, as you can see directly above at 9:10 a.m. And at this time, on February 15, 2024, at 9:10 a.m., I captured this video. As you can see, it's 20 minutes long, 19 minutes and 34 seconds. So at the current time at 9:23 a.m., I am still capturing this video, meaning this fake sun is still outside of my window, outside of my office at Alvarado Gardens, facing the hillside, where the fake sun was also present over that hillside, rising in alignment to me in my living room window in Los Angeles, where there would never be any sun over Woodside Senior Apartments. This is speaking to the pattern of conduct that Woodside Senior Apartments, that the people of the state, that AVANATH Capital Management, that the city of Ontario, that the state of California is engaging in. All right, and they do so with impunity. And so I want to be clear, this is criminal conduct that AVANATH Capital Management is being prosecuted for. And they are doing so with the people of the state that are acting with impunity still and refusing to stop engaging in a sex offense. Obsessed with my genitalia and every minute move that I make, including my operation of my communication device. And that's exactly what I'm subject to while I am inside of this unit. And the demon that is in unit number 55, gang stalking under this fake sun that's present at 9:24 in the morning. You'll see this gang stalker crossing path at this same apartment complex after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because this fake sun sits at Woodside Senior Apartments, where I am inside of unit 51. This demon in unit 55 is a chief means of amplified audible activity, which is serving to monitor me, which is criminal surveillance, which is very easy for the federal government to identify a domestic terrorist who is going to a mental ward. She is gang stalking as an entity, however, and everyone else physically surrounding me, where the fake sun is remaining over the apartment building for the duration of the day. And units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison with her. Her license plate is 5WUB as in boy, 715. She is heavily documented as a domestic terrorist and one that's employing war tactics. And this is that which the government is relying on, employing, approving of. Psychological torture. Those that are not college educated, those that are unemployed, those that are over the age of 55, that are never going to sleep, never abandoning position over me inside of an apartment, where you are stalking. You're stalking. It is the most pathetic existence, and this is the demon-possessed gang stalker inside of Unit 55, and she's gang stalking with a bunch of pathetic demons. Every single last one of them are gang stalking in violation of what is federal law. This is the HUD-regulated property of AVANATH Capital Management. Another basis for this demon in Unit 55, and everyone, all 144 units, are being prosecuted, including the landlord, for violating federal law. 34 U.S.C. Section 12291, the Violence Against Women Act, is clearly in violation at an unprecedented level, while I'm subject to a massive sex offense, corporate invasion of privacy, criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, and doing so with regard to what is criminal stalking and a violation of what is also federal stalking, Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. All while these demons are gang stalking me inside of this private space, and they're all losing their housing benefits while doing so. And this is on the watch, which AVANATH Capital Management is subject to. So now what I want you to see is how this fake sun is sitting idle at Alvarado Gardens, where demons are monitoring me inside of a private space, not a private residence, and no one has any constitutionally protected rights in federal court. It's literally going to be a means of confirming your address, which the federal government already knows. There's no question that's going to be asked in court that the answer is not already known. Your confirmation of your address, because you don't have any argument. This is the maintenance of the light source. All right, this is the specific environment where I am subject to surveillance, and even as you are looking at it, 9:26 a.m., the entity is keeping this light source stationary over Alvarado Gardens. This is what I'm looking at in my office. We're here, but it's 2024, okay? So I just want to go ahead and make that, because I was... So I'm documenting, this is the light source outside of my leasing office in Los Angeles. The leasing office is located in between buildings 1808 North Alvarado Street and building 1810 North Alvarado Street. And I'm documenting the maintenance of this light source for the duration of the day. I also documented the sunrise outside of my apartment at the same property at Alvarado Gardens during the 7 a.m. hour, which, as you're paying attention to all of the documentation that I capture prosecuting Woodside Senior Apartments, where sex offenders are obsessively engaged in monitoring me inside of a private private space. This is domestic terrorism that's underway in the United States. And the mentally ill, the demon-possessed, are so sick that they are facing homelessness after I prosecute them for gang stalking with the government that incriminates them in federal court. This is why you have an elderly person over 55. This is why you have earthquake-like conduct, while you see them slowly crawling under the fake sun on a cane. But those are the same demons that are engaging in 24-hour psychological torture tactics while they're keeping my genitalia under surveillance on behalf of a corrupt government that is clearly exposed for engaging in what is gang stalking with a population full of demons who are mentally ill, demons who are engaging in what is stalking one person together. Absurdly criminal and entirely disconcerting and disturbing. Okay, not only with regard to disturbing, with regard to the ongoing noise, which is a criminal invasion of quiet enjoyment. They're doing so while I'm showing you this specific environment. And so while I am showing you this environment, this is where the entity is keeping the fake sun, and this is what is under surveillance. While I am in operation of my phone, this is what I continuously document, the demon up in 55, because this is where the audible activity is sounding from. Understand, you're dealing with the demonic. It is as demonic as sunlight piercing through the peephole. The amplification of what is earthquake-like conduct, while those over 55 are crawling around on a cane, wanting to appear on you. And it's very foolish, because while you appear on camera, you're going to prison. All right. But they want to appear on camera. Very foolish. There's no getting out of this prosecution, because while you appear on camera, you are going to be prosecuted for gang stalking at the place where you reside. But wanting to appear as though they are weak and, not strong enough to engage in anything capable. Not capable of engaging in anything as monstrous as gang stalking someone, as perverted, all right, as demented as gang stalking. And I'm just giving over an argument because it's legally irrelevant, and you are fully informed regarding the malice of the demon possessed. This is the same property where you see them gang stalking with the very eager Ontario Police Department, and they also aren't complaining about that helicopter activity, uncharacteristic of a senior property, at all hours, day and night, even creating sensational activity inside of this apartment, very much like I documented in Los Angeles at the Alvarado Gardens apartments. This is where I am operating my communication device, and as I engage in what you can see here, copy and paste, as I engage in this copy and paste conduct immediately with simultaneity to the operation of my communication device, which I am subject to criminal surveillance while I operate it in violation of Title 18, you are simultaneously violating what is means of technical abuse. I'm being psychologically tortured while I'm being criminally surveilled on the video of the internet and on my devices. They are simultaneously violating what is a federal intersection of laws, if you will, the Violence Against Women Act. I'm subject to psychological torture. It's within a pattern of conduct. It's also sexually violent because they're monitoring everything. And this is through the demons that are living in the apartment. This is in the specific environment, which is legally relevant, where I am subject to this environment, which is uncharacteristic of what would be a senior citizen complex on its face. But even beyond that, I have hard evidence speaking to a pattern of conduct that the elderly are surrounded by. And as I surround the elderly with evidence that's putting everyone in prison in units 33 through 64, the city of Ontario is being prosecuted for gang stalking with them. All right. This is where I'm showing you. I just want to be clear with regard to this pattern of conduct, even while it's present I captured the fake sun this morning at 7:51 a.m. in perfect alignment with me. Even pay attention, even as I close the door, you can see this light source perfectly aimed through the crack of the door. And then as I open the door, you're looking at it at this great distance. This is demonic. Okay. In the same way that this light around the frame of the door is demonic. That's how you go from looking at it perfectly aimed through the crack of the door to appearing at a distance where that would not create any sort of, positioning where you would visually see that light source that's always capable of maintaining that presence in the path with me. That's real-time demonic activity as I'm just honing in on what you are looking at and you're not paying attention to. This is where I am being psychologically tortured. This is where I'm being harassed. This is where I'm being terrorized by stalkers whose address the federal government knows exactly where they are and what they're doing. Because there is no son that would be over outside of my leasing office like I captured today at the same time. And the entity is acting with impunity and notable malice while I remain subject to it. And it is evident while the fake son sits over the venue all day long. That is going towards your impunity. While you are living at the crime scene where the fake son sits all day long and I'm being molested and terrorized with impossible light, appearing and disappearing, occurring with simultaneity, the same light activity, that which they're engaging with amplified audible activity, with the same code of the demons that are monitoring, with simultaneity to what I do, even on a communication device, including doing more of it as I document the terrorizing conduct. This is what a gang stalking landlord is going to be civilly and criminally liable for. Okay, so I want to make sure I capture this video as while I'm at it. I just want to be clear, not only is the fake son
reviewing some of my documentation and aiming
as I am
remaining in 24, and that's what I mean to say when I am quickly rattling through the information as it's happening in real time. So anyway, this is the specific environment, the maintenance of the light source. This is directed light, and the entity engages in
so while
aiming.
I am capturing the light source, I just want to be clear, this is where I captured I live and worked at the same apartment complex. So I go to building 1806, and this is where I captured the sunrise at 7:04 a.m. at Alvarado Gardens, and versus what would be 45 minutes later. This is where an entire population is gang stalking a woman. This is speaking to a population of sex offenders. This is speaking to a government that is going to be prosecuted as a sexually perverted public entity that is gang stalking me, and that specific environment is the evidence of it. You have sex offenders that are preying on me regarding their obsession with what's going on with my genitalia and using commercial airplanes to do so. Okay, focused on me, obsessed. Remember, stalking is born of obsession. This is the environment where I'm capturing what is the impossible. 45 minutes later, the sun is going to somehow be over Woodside Senior Apartments. And you already know the evidence at Woodside Senior Apartments is such that where the sun rises in the morning, this is where it remains to the end of the day. All right, this is where the entity is maintaining this light source, and this is where an entity is gang stalking me and psychologically torturing, harassing, and terrorizing as I document sex offenders who continuously engage in terrorizing me. All right, Linda Reyes, this is a gang stalking community manager. She's going to prison. All right, every other employee working for AVANATH Capital Management is going to prison at Woodside Senior Apartments. And they are doing so while you are looking at the light source that is rising over through my living room window.
It is Thursday, February 15, 2024. And this is 7:05 in the morning.
And this is in perfect alignment with my living room window. And this is the light activity inside of my apartment. Evidence of stalking with light, just like you see inside of this apartment here at Woodside Senior Apartment.
Even manifest in this way, it's not going to manifest at all actually inside of the apartment. This is laser light conduct, and it shows through. I also want to show you again, the blinds are closed. This is also why.
All right, this is akin to what you're looking at, the pattern of conduct here. Sunlight does not pierce through a peephole, okay? It's not the product of sunlight. Sunlight is not that which is so concentrated it's going to pierce through. The sun is in the sky space above. You have what is abnormally strong, peculiarized light, engineered light, in order to maintain a method of glowing light all around while I'm under surveillance. Sunlight is not just manifesting out of nowhere on the ceiling inside of the apartment, framing the door where it remains day and night, even in the absence of the sun, such as a cloudy day. The same framing of engineered light, which is nothing other than gray colored. None of this is the product of sunlight. This is the same pattern of conduct underway inside of my apartment in Los Angeles, where I did capture the sunrise this morning in 2024, and this is where the fake sun remains as I document. And you also know that this is where the fake sun, and I'm referencing LA. The entity kept the fake sun over me in LA, where the LAPD, which is speaking to what the state of California is doing, keeping a light source, which is speaking to a pattern of conduct that remains underway. This is my front door at 10:12 a.m. All right, the entity is keeping a light source here in Woodside Senior Apartments, and doing so with regard to what I've already documented. It's currently 9:36 a.m. And this is where the entity keeps the fake sun for the duration of the day in perfect alignment with me. And this is within the well-documented pattern of conduct, and this is where a sex offense is underway. All right, and everybody in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison for it. All gang stalking households with children are going to lose custody of those children, and they have willfully continuously engaged in it with knowledge of that. All gang stalking immigrants are going to be subject to deportation. All right, the entity is engaged. All gang stalkers, period, are going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism, and this is a citywide effort. All right, all gang stalking mayors shall be removed from office, etc., etc. There is no position where the sun is over my front door in Los Angeles, California at 10:12 a.m., and I've already documented the gang stalking landlord, Linda Reyes. under this light source during at around the same time, which is, again, we'll just look at that really quickly regarding what is the pattern of conduct as it pertains to what is the P.O.C. that I'm capturing. Here it is down here. This video was captured days ago on January 31st, 2025 at what is, looks like 10:28 a.m. All right, this is a negligible difference, 10:28 a.m. and 10:12 a.m. The fake sun remained over me in Los Angeles, and there is no natural environment that's going to coexist with the sun remaining over my front door in Los Angeles, facing the hillside, the same hillside where the sunrise was at 7 in the morning. 3 hours later, there's no movement of the sun. I've captured the pattern of conduct in Los Angeles, and I'm capturing the pattern of conduct here in Ontario. And the sun is not over Alvarado Gardens while it's sitting idle over this building where I am subject to a sex offense and ongoing terrorism, corporate and criminal invasion of quiet interference with quiet enjoyment because they are stalking me inside of the apartment. Okay, that is, again, psychological torture, which cannot be quantified. All right, but the entity, justice requires you're going to put a dollar amount, and damages are designed to devastate that corrupt gang stalking company that is maliciously providing its corporate its corporation as a means of gang stalking with the state. All right. And this is why you have the AVANATH capital management employees going to prison. It's an intolerable level of facilitation. All right, so I want to get this video so you can see gang stalking by the community manager. Everybody else, including the community manager, are gang stalking. And this is speaking to what is also the basis for prison. And doing so as an entity. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. All right, again, this is Linda Reyes. This is the prosecution of AVANATH Capital Management as a landlord as well.
All right, and you are living in the path where the entity is maintaining amplified audible activity on an ongoing basis, monitoring activity by them. It is also a contribution to the delinquency of minors. It is currently 10:55 a.m. Hi. It's 10:55 a.m. and that is P.O.C. And she is monitoring with the people of the state that are surrounding, and she is intentional.
And that is the gang stalking landlord, doing so, crossing path, creating audible activity, light activity under that light source, and doing so with regard to the pattern of conduct that remains underway at a specific environment where you have no constitutionally protected right to work at the facilitating environment, enabling the government, who's relying on presence, all manner of presence, operations of business, living at the crime scene, working at the crime scene, visiting the crime scene, where the entity is engaged in gang stalking. This is exactly what the Los Angeles Police Department were engaging at Alvarado Gardens. This is exactly what the state of California has been engaged in doing, as I have documented it for a prolonged period of time. And this same apartment building here in at Unit 51 is where I'm at. This is where the fake sun remains. That's 10:55 in the morning. The entity's keeping the fake sun. This is a matter of juxtaposing the two crime scenes. 10:12 in the morning. The sun doesn't go anywhere. In Los Angeles, it remains, as I document, well into the afternoon, while the entity is keeping that light source over me. We can get close to 10:48 a.m.
They're pacing. Imagine and here's the light source.
All right, that which is over Linda Reyes, which is in front of me, it's called stalking with the light source, which I've already established. This is not the sun. It is the evidence of what is stalking by a population. It is the evidence of a high level of malice, diabolical level of malice, malice that is life-threatening to the target individual. It is unfathomable, and it is also that which is criminal facilitation by the landlord itself, AVANATH Capital Management, who is gang stalking with the people of the state who are indeed interfering with quiet enjoyment while they are, as a community, stalking with noise. That is psychological torture, which cannot be quantified. And those damages are designed to devastate that company that should not, as a matter of justice, even operate any longer, gang stalking American citizens throughout the state of California. AVANATH Capital Management has many properties in California and throughout the country. I just want to be clear, that which is over at 10:48 a.m. and 10:55 in the morning at Alvarado Gardens and Woodside Senior Apartments, that's identifying the pattern of conduct. All right. And the entity kept the light source on this day for the duration of the day, because this is why you document, in order to prove that which you cannot imagine in your mind. And I understand that. That's why I document it. This is the light source that's still at the same property, remaining over me wherever it is that I am. throughout the duration of the day, rising and setting at Alvarado Gardens. This is the totality of my documentation in Los Angeles. This is what the entity is doing at Woodside Senior Apartments. And like you see in the middle of the day, let's get the light source at Woodside Senior Apartments, where I am subject to 24-hour psychological torture. This is 1:55 in the afternoon, okay? And I want to document again 9:43 a.m. as I begin playing the video. Ongoing amplified audible activity of hostile demons who are defiant toward federal law. That's going toward how long they're sitting in federal prison and in mental asylums, while monitoring evidence as well, criminal obstruction of justice. And this is also attributed to the state. It's P.O.C. That's the same impossible light activity framing the front door at 1:55 in the afternoon that you see in the morning time, okay? It's not sunlight. And I'm documenting what is criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. So let you hear that again. All right, that's called impossible audible activity. The amplified sound of cracking walls and ceiling, while the demon living in unit 55 is the chief means of the state keeping me under surveillance that is following my every move, psychologically torturing and harassing as I document, just like I'm documenting throughout this video, and the ongoing conduct that's happening under a fake sun that is not possibly over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles at the same time either. This is juxtaposing the crime scene, and it's putting the criminal cases against the state actors, Los Angeles County and San Bernardino County, for example, when you get to a big picture analysis. And it's also proving to you what are the demon possessed who are engaged in domestic terrorism in this country, while you are witnessing and revealing what is their secret severe mental illness that is a threat to national security. This is where the fake sun is over me in the middle of the afternoon, while it's stationary over Alvarado Gardens over me. The same building where it's over me as I'm documenting at 7:51 in the morning today. Again, this is at 1:55 in the afternoon. The same apartment building where the gang stalking property manager, Linda Reyes, is gang stalking me at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is idle presence over the same building, in the same way that Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, idle presence over the same property over me, where I'm at work and when I'm in my apartment, the fake sun remains over my apartment, okay? This is the P.O.C. And the entity is acting with ongoing documented impunity, ongoing malice, and they do so on behalf of the government. This is directly relevant to the ways in which the corrupt government, there is no ambiguity, all right? It is absolutely unequivocal with regard to who is going to be removed from office, who is subject to a federal prosecution, who is going to be subject to criminal liability and civil liability, and who is going to prison. Okay? The entity is doing so with impunity as I remain subject to this.
That's the people of the state that are gang stalking inside of a private space along with the demon in Unit 55.
All right, so that's amplified traffic, in other words. That's what I'm narrating right there. The sound of the traffic, everything that you're hearing in engineer light is intentional with regard to criminal monitoring. It's happening under a fake sun. The population is a bunch of gang stalking sex offenders. And they are monitoring with the demons that are amplifying noise inside of my apartment, stalking in the path while demonic noise is created inside of my apartment, in the demonic environment where a fake sun remains in alignment to me inside of this apartment. That belongs to, by the way, to Tracy Banks, a third-party group stalking relative. Okay? And everybody else with that same status, including Eric Corey Spencer, they're going to be put in prison. Tracy Banks is going to a mental asylum, Eric Corey Spencer, prison. And every criminally defamatory word uttered in any gang stalking court in California, they're going to prison for criminal defamation and furtherance of kidnapping and murdering me. And they're gang stalking me with the population who I show you are surrounding me in a specific environment, acting with my gang stalking family that tried to sacrifice me. This is in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And this is what the government, the state of California, is engaged in, sacrificing American citizens. All right, doing so while you are subject to an unprecedented sex offense, corporate invasion of privacy by a population of people, and they are all demon possessed as well. And it's exposing public corruption. This is what's relevant while I'm subject to, again, harassment inside of the apartment. While I am publishing evidence onto the website, you can see the website. There is a lot more evidence than what you can see on YouTube. This is the POC.wordpress.com. This is the evidence of one of many criminal acts committed by the court that evaded service of process, that brought fictitious prosecutions in furtherance of kidnapping me. These are the types of evidence that I'm publishing onto the website. And as I'm publishing it while I'm in operation of my communication device in the specific environment, this is how you're tethering what is federal stalking while the criminal pattern of conduct of criminal surveillance, gang stalking, is underway. And it is, intersecting with Violence Against Women Act, which this HUD regulated property is in violation of. And it's not just the demons in units 1 through 44. The ones that are going to prison that are physically surrounding, 33 through 64 are going to prison. But the AVANATH Capital Management, the landlord itself, is civilly criminally liable, violating the Violence Against Women Act. All right. This is, again, unprecedented criminal conduct, and it's an unprecedented federal prosecution on multiple bases. And I remain subject to it, which is speaking to the impunity of the state. It is currently 9:48 a.m. The entity is maintaining this light source over the venue, and I'm going to go ahead and conclude this video with it. The entity is keeping the fake sun on this day over me in Los Angeles, California at Alvarado Gardens. As I documented day in and day out, the sunrise and the sunset over me in Los Angeles, and now the entity is engaged in an outright departure, under no circumstances having any plan in federal court to even be able to maintain a position such that it's the natural environment and that they're doing anything other than what is supernatural, malicious, gang stalking. All right, this is the fake sun that remains over Woodside Senior Apartments. This is P.O.C. Currently 9:49 a.m. This is Ontario Police. The fake sun. That's the people of the state gang stalking with the Ontario Police as a light source. The helicopter activity is amplified inside of the apartment. And this is where demons are stalking in the path, and they're engaging in psychological torture while 55 is maintaining amplified noise while engineer light shoots through the peephole inside of the depths of the kitchen, targeting that amplified noise inside of the kitchen. You're looking at a sex offender over 55. And the Ontario Police approve of such sexual violence, criminally contributing to public corruption, gang stalking with the people. Everyone in units 33 through 64 are going to prison. This is the same exact building where the entity had the fake sun at 7:51 in the morning. It is currently 10:57 a.m. This is documentation of criminal obstruction of justice. You're talking about a minimum of 7 years of federal prison for the elderly gang stalking here based on the years of criminal surveillance and the impunity and malice with which they engage in it. The demon living in unit 43 that are gang stalking right here by creating activity with the police who are gang stalking uses the resources of the city that Paul Leon is going to be removed from office for. He's been engaged in domestic terrorism for 20 plus years. All right. In doing so while a sex offense is underway. This is audible activity and light activity while a fake sun rises and sets at one apartment. And this is nowhere over Alvarado Gardens. And that's recognizing the malice of the elderly gang stalkers in Ontario, California. This is P.O.C. All right. The entity is gang stalking with the plane in the sky space. It's nothing other than audible activity, saying good morning, saying God bless you, stalking in the path, and doing so while monitoring also your genitalia. They act with the same level of impunity, and doing so while, again, the people of the state are monitoring inside of the apartment building where the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment is also underway, and walking outside where you're looking at the light source that's still here after 3:30 in the afternoon, and you are witnessing that malice. All right, the ongoing inexplicable focus on me is based on the gang stalking conduct by the demon possessed who are entirely malicious. This is Ontario PD gang stalking with the elderly in Ontario. It is currently 10:58 a.m. This is POC. You're going to look at the text that I just documented. You're going to look at the engineer light while you're on a cane, on a walker. All right. The malice when you're looking at the light source that remains stationary, and what is not a coincidence of being present while the stalkers in the Ontario Police helicopter are crossing path. Not a coincidence and not ignorant while the entity is stalking in the sky space by planes. Not a coincidence why the entity is keeping a light source and engineer light inside of the peephole. coming through the apartment. So I'm going to show you this. All right, that is, again, the license and number 5WUB715. They are together exhibiting hostility, the demon-possessed that are monitoring my movements inside of the apartment while my shadow's appearing on the ceiling. And then you've got an elderly aged demon stalking in the path with the demon in unit 43. She's going to prison, and so is everybody else in units 33 through 64. All right. It is currently, again, 10:59 a.m., where the entity is maintaining a light source. And this is how you're monitoring a woman even inside of a private space. And you're looking at sex offenders over the age of 55 and going to federal prison because the entity is maintaining criminal presence in the path, and this is how criminal surveillance is underway. There's no sun over Alvarado Gardens, while the ordinary gang stalkers in the city of Ontario engage in that P.O.C. with the corrupt government. This is something that Paul Leon approves of. This is something that he relies on to maintain criminal surveillance, something that Mike Lorenz is going to be removed from office for. All right, gang stalking, spending thousands of dollars every day to monitor me in planes and helicopters. That's what the city of Ontario, the corrupt government, is going to be removed from office for. And this is why sex offenders are going to prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. Crawling around in engineer light is the pattern of conduct. Monitoring my genitalia when I'm in the bathroom, doing the same thing, pacing around in helicopters, pacing around on walkers, doing so while they're unemployed, but they're up 24/7 gang stalking. It is the P.O.C. It is currently, again, 11 a.m. All right, it is still Saturday, February 15, 2025. It's currently 12:41 p.m. And what you listen to are the series of videos that I did capture today, denoting, first of all, the specific environment. The specific environment is what delineates the difference between how the natural environment appears, operates, and it's relevant to recognizing a crime scene that is highly malicious, where the government in the United States, and I am in the state of California, is engaging in a malicious pattern of conduct that is designed to keep an American citizen under surveillance. And this is a criminal system, demonic in nature, that the government cannot do by itself. The government is doing it maliciously in concert with the very civilians that fill the state. They are referred to legally as the people of the state. And as the government is engaging in what is surveillance on a 24-hour basis everywhere that you are at, no matter even if you're living in a car in the middle of the desert, the entity is always maintaining presence not only in the sky space, but also through the very civilians who are supposed to. And they are intended to maintain presence all around you, even if just sitting in their vehicle in a trailer in the middle of the desert. As long as someone is around you, someone is driving on the road while you're in the desert in your vehicle, there's always someone present. In other words, you are never abandoned. You are never left alone in the path. All right, just to give you a far out circumstance where ordinary people are going to work, you live somewhere, even if you're homeless, you are subject to gang stalking, as my evidence also shows, because the government is not targeting those based on your socioeconomic status or even your race. Okay, this is demonic. Satan is a spirit, and the spirit of racism is relevant, okay, but it's not based on your race. White people are subject to gang stalking. Latinos are subject to gang stalking. Asian people are subject to gang stalking. The entity is, and Black people, no matter what your race is, in other words, has nothing to do with your language. The entity is engaged in what is a pattern of conduct that is demonic, and it is targeting. It is nonetheless discrimination by the government. It is a violation of equal protection. It is a violation of your civil rights. But the entity is also engaged in what is demonic, targeting those that are in my circumstance, it is purely because I am a disciple of Christ, and the demon possessed are targeting me. It's a system of persecution, and but that is not to say that non-believers are not subject to being targeted. It's a system of surveillance, and so you can, when you have this organized system of crime, the government is absolutely engaged in murdering those that may be a risk to the system, that may, blow the whistle after being a part of the criminal system for some way or another. You can see how chaotic and mentally disturbed psychopaths are fully engaged in highly unstable conduct, turning on each other, engaging in violence against each other. You're seeing it on the news every day. These are gang stalkers. These are the demon possessed. The system is just referred to as gang stalking, but it is a system of what is surveillance that Satan has underway in the United States, and Satan is using the government. And while the government is engaging in it, it's exposing public corruption, and it is not impervious to prosecution by the federal government. And it is also notable, and my evidence also demonstrates that the federal government is also compromised. For example, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, they have an office in downtown Los Angeles. Los Angeles is gang stalking, okay? So you have what is the pattern of conduct that does It does compromise aspects of the federal government. Nonetheless, there shall be justice, as I've already stated years ago from the beginning, that the state of California is going to be prosecuted. It's an unprecedented prosecution that the world is going to witness, and it is a testimony to the reality of the Lord Jesus Christ. He is coming back, and he's coming back in judgment. And this is exposing Satan, his devices, and who Satan is using, and also for your own protection, for your own information, that you may not be ignorant about Satan's devices, but you're also aware of the real-time threat that mentally unstable people who are demon-possessed are wanting to desperately conceal the fact that you have highly unstable people who are psychopaths. They're ticking time bombs, and they are capable of engaging in egregious acts of violence, sexual perversion, and unfathomable, unprecedented acts of you have literally people going berserk, and they are going to work every day as though everything is normal, and they're literally living on the edge. This is the average gang stalker, the demon-possessed person that lives next to you, that teaches your children in kindergarten, all right, that you're sitting in class with, literally your professor. You're going and you're sitting in a building and you're calling it a church service. They're preaching you the word, and they're demon-possessed gang stalkers, okay? So I just want to be clear, this is what I'm subject to, and this is relevant to what remains over Woodside Senior Apartments, which the evidence also has already established, that the fake sun sits idle, where the demons in units 33 through 64 at what is an AVANATH capital management property are gang stalking, and that is shown on its face as you are recognizing the crime scene, where nothing other than and nothing shall supersede the criminal surveillance system that the government is engaging in. And there is nothing that is lawful underway in that environment, where the target individual has alleged and has independently established, based on evidence, that documentation, in other words, that the government is targeting them, and there's nothing that's happening that's lawful. And this is why you have the AVANATH Capital Management employees at Woodside Senior Apartments, including Linda Reyes, who I am documenting for hours thus far today on another day. She's been gang stalking for years, and she is going to prison. When I federally prosecute her, when I prosecute this property, and when I prosecute specifically the demons that are stalking in the path in order to criminally interfere with quiet enjoyment on a 24-hour basis, exhibiting severe mental illness, even as they act in this manner on behalf of each other. You've got the demons that are going to work during the day, or at least this is what demons like Tracy Banks allege. The federal government knows exactly what Tracy Banks is doing throughout the day. Tracy Banks is not only a demon-possessed person, she's a criminal, she's a gang stalker, and she's a highly malicious one that poses a threat to national security. And the likes of her are those that are targeting their own blood relatives. And if she would engage in gang stalking her own daughter to murder her for profit, she is a threat to any person. She doesn't even have to know your name. This is speaking to what is a predator that is a threat to the public. And this is also speaking to the population of gang stalkers. This is what the state of California practices. Treating American citizens as though they are disposable, engaging and surrounding them with this organized system, psychologically torturing them in order to mentally break them down so that they can be surrounded within the circumstances where they will be subject to a loss of life or kidnapping, psychologically torturing you and then trying to falsely depict you as being mentally unstable, through the criminally defamatory conduct of the very psychopaths who are severely unstable, while they target you in demonic methods, being demon-possessed in doing so. That is the behavior of Satan that hates you, that targets you. And Satan is a spirit who are using the people of the state and the government. And this is the conduct of the demon-possessed. And so at Woodside Senior Apartments today on Saturday, my evidence is showing on this day in 2024, the entity has a fake sun remaining over Alvarado Gardens, where I am in the office. I'm documenting LAPD, a demon-possessed and corrupt agency, wasting thousands of dollars day and night to stalk me, monitor, psychologically torture me, and keep me under surveillance, including using helicopters. And this is what a corrupt company, speaker companies, spending, again, hundreds and thousands of dollars through all of its corrupt business dealings with every third-party contractor, with everyone coming onto the grounds of speaker companies, Alvarado Gardens, the property where I was the property manager, where the residents those who pay speaker companies rent, meaning speaker companies is criminally profiting in violation of public policy while the system of federal group stalking and monitoring was underway. This is the reason why speaker companies hired me in order to place me under surveillance, in order to subject me to psychological torture in the workplace so that I may be falsely depicted as one suffering from some sort of mental illness. The reason why I wasn't able to keep a job, this is what they would have alleged. And this would be in furtherance of Tracy Banks's criminally defamatory conduct in concert with her malicious son, Eric Corey Spencer, and all those who I know personally by name who have made any sort of criminally defamatory statements in court. Every single last one of them are going to federal prison. And this is why, while to date, I am documenting inside of this apartment today the ongoing psychological torture, criminal tactics of the Ontario Police Department, of AVANATH Capital Management, of the gang stalkers such as Linda Reyes, whose work schedule is not limiting her to federal prison. She is being documented on a 24-hour basis as an employee of AVANATH. And she is gang stalking in violation of also what is a HUD-regulated property, the Violence Against Women Act. This is 34 U.S.C. Section 12291. Violence against women, where you are subject to stalking, where you're subject to sexually perverted predatory behavior, which monitoring and monitoring in a bathroom, monitoring while you're nude inside of your private space, invading your privacy as a population, engaging with the pattern of conduct with knowledge of the fact that your genitalia is exposed, that your legs are spread open, that you're necessarily touching yourself while you're disposing yourself while you're in the shower, and every detail regarding your personal and private activities, a matter of public information amongst the entity that is gang stalking you. That is an exceedingly violent sex offense that is in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, that the AVANATH Capital Management Company, its employees, literally the property itself is the crime scene, and the landlord, AVANATH Capital Management, shall be civilly and criminally held responsible for it. They are not innocent bystanders. You don't have any constitutionally protected rights to have a business that is under any circumstances, under any means, aiding the government and murdering and kidnapping someone. So I just want to get that off the, there's no mystery there. You will be held accountable for it, and claiming that you didn't know is simply insufficient. An American citizen's life is at stake. An American citizen's liberty and their human rights and their safety is at stake. And your business and your profiting and your placement of your corporate office away from your office, and not knowing what your employees are doing, and not being responsible for what your residents are doing, and your inability to control who's coming on the property, it's all legally insufficient. You're making money. Your property is that which is within your control. You have an obligation, and the landscape has changed. You cannot feign ignorance, because the demons of AVANATH Capital Management are gang stalking in Orange County, by the way. They're not innocent, but you shall be responsible civilly and criminally for what your property is used as, where federal group stalking, monitoring, domestic terrorism, the un-American conduct of gang stalking American citizens is underway on your soil. You will be held accountable for it. And the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, which the entity is engaging in, as I've been documenting. Again, the demon in unit number 55. This is the entity that is gang stalking by address. Very foolish conduct. She's going to a mental asylum. She's going for a minimum of 7 years. She's going for longer than 7 years based on criminal obstruction, based on the prosecution under the Violence Against Women Act, based on the impunity and the malice with which she is gang stalking on behalf of the government, based on her ongoing criminal acts to threaten my life and psychologically torture me, as she does so in concert with the Ontario Police Department, who has long abandoned any appearance, all right, of legitimacy, while they are documented for years engaging in stalking using helicopters under the corrupt tutelage of Mayor Paul Leon, who has 20 years engaged in this criminal system, long overdue with regard to the public exposure and removal of a terrorist leader, of an un-American criminal that's currently holding office in the city of Ontario, where the literally the systematic means of gang stalking through the airport that is wasting thousands of dollars each plane. There's a lot of money that's included in even revving up the engine to start a plane. And they are doing so on a systematic basis to gang stalk little old me. That's a lot of money that Paul Leon is wasting, a lot of money that the Ontario International Airport is wasting on paying gang stalkers, on placing gang stalkers behind the pit in order to fly commercial planes to stalk someone. Those are the same demons, by the way, that fly planes into bodies of water and into buildings. And then it's on the news as though it's some accident. They are a threat to national security, and the shutdown of the Ontario International Airport benefits society. And it is literally lessening the national security threat that the city of Ontario that it poses to the nation, literally, based on the criminal conduct that the city of Ontario is engaged in. And it is directly relevant to the elderly, unemployed, sex-offending gang stalkers at Woodside Senior Apartments, whose obsession with my genitalia is something that they're both embarrassed about, but they want to continue engaging in, stalking me and monitoring my genitalia, while they obsess and salivate while my panties are down. And then they're hostile and engage in psychological torture because I'm publishing this information, this sexual violence, on my podcast and in video. That's a psychopath by definition. Everyone in units 33 through 64 is going to federal prison. And the sex offender in unit number 55, license 5WUB715, this is the Caucasian female over 55 years old, cannot afford to pay her rent, is relying on federal housing in order to be able to pay her rent, and no domestic terrorist, no sex offender will ever be supported by the government in the payment of rent. It is better that they're homeless than they are supported by remaining in a community where they are available and capable to aid a corrupt government in targeting an American citizen in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping them. That's exactly why Woodside Senior Apartments, the entire facilitating venue, all 144 units are going to be prosecuted under the Violence Against Women Act, and they're also going to be prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring, in addition to what is the ongoing pattern of obstruction of justice. So with that being said, on this day in 2024, the entity is keeping a fake son. And this is nothing other than the ongoing illustrative purposes of what is already established as a matter of evidence to prosecute the state of California for engaging in what is domestic terrorism, absolutely un-American and criminal conduct. That is shameful that the United States is engaged in, and it is an inevitable stain on America, including when our president is talking to other countries. It is shameful what we are doing to American citizens in our own country. So I hope that it is clear how this affects us on an international stage, how it weakens us on an international stage. I'll leave that there. The entity is engaging in what is terrorizing its own citizens and would like to appear as something that should be, as an entity that should be taken, or a government that should be taken seriously, that should be in some position of leadership, that should have any stance whatsoever regarding what other people, other countries are doing to their own citizens, to their own people. When the United States is terrorizing American citizens in the ways that the Los Angeles Police Department and the ways that the Ontario Police Department have exhibited to the world, they've exhibited their stance toward American citizens and those who enforce their human and constitutional rights, and the likes of those that fill the state. Sex offenders, like the demon in Unit 55, who's engaging in what is conduct demonstrative dropping bowling balls, as I document this sex offender that is stalking me every step that I move inside of the apartment. While I'm sitting on the couch, the demon is pacing like a lap dog in the living room, beating an earthquake-like conduct surrounding me inside of the living room. This is criminal interference with quiet enjoyment under the fake sun and in engineered light. And there is further evidence juxtaposing what is the surefire prosecution of Woodside Senior Apartments and AVANATH Capital Management because of the specific environment. The light source that is remaining over me on this day in 2024 is not the sun that would ever be anywhere in any location where I would be able to capture it sitting like I do today on the roof of Woodside Senior Apartments, specifically the demons in units 33 through 48. Gang stalking in the path, while the entity is engaged in what is activity creation such as beating and pounding on the floor, the floor above me, which would be the ceiling above my head, wherever it is that I'm located in the apartment as well. It's very precise. And it's amplified in volume. It's occurring with simultaneity to what I do. It's while demons are monitoring what it is that I am recording about them on my devices. Doing so with simultaneity. Being aided by the terrorists, the sex offenders, the gang members of the Ontario Police Department, who further communicate a threat, including helicopter activity, expending thousands of dollars in doing so, while 24-hour surveillance using helicopter is what the Ontario Police Department are doing. Joining in by helicopter are the demon-possessed and the highly mentally unstable demons who fail to recognize that you're not stopping the federal prosecutor from documenting the people of the state who are going to prison for what you are doing as a corrupt government. And that demon that's flying the helicopter is also going to prison. It is only mental instability that is the explanation for this sort of psychosis that's being revealed while I'm documenting the P.O.C. of a bunch of demons who are exposed, and they're mad that they're being exposed. That's a psychopath. You want to monitor my genitalia, and then you're upset because I'm telling everyone that you want to monitor my genitalia, and then you go home to children. You go home and you are around women and men, whatever it is that you might want to set your predatory sight upon in order to target them, in order to do so in a manner where they're supposed to stay silent, and you threaten them and you torture them and you harm them if they dare speak out against it. That's what's flying commercial planes in the city of Ontario. That's what's sitting in the office of the local government in the city of Ontario. That's what's working for the Ontario Police Department. That's what is the chief of police, Mike Lorenz. That's what fills every single apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments, all 144 units. That's what fills the city of Ontario, the people of the state. All right. To have a pattern of conduct that is shared amongst two counties, Los Angeles County and San Bernardino County, is to establish that the state of California is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring in an environment that is a scientific impossibility, and it is irreconcilable with nature and the way that the natural environment, as it has been dictated to us, operates. Per NASA, by the way. It is currently 1 p.m. And so I wanted to give this documentation, which is speaking to ongoing psychological torture. Again, I documented this morning at 10:47 a.m. The demons are monitoring as I'm in the kitchen. Demons are hostile, particularly while the demon possessed are monitoring. Demons like Tracy Banks, who remains a part of the entity, her claiming that she's going to work whatever she does throughout her day. She is gang stalking while she does it. While you are living at the crime scene, while you go to the grocery store, you are not exempted from the ongoing criminal conduct that continuously is underway as an entity, like double dutch, like teamwork, continues maintenance of the pattern of conduct, the maintenance of the elements of monitoring. You're not removed while you're off work on Saturday. You're not removed while you go to your grandmammies. Well, these would be their great-great-grandmammies, because these are 55 and older, if they have that advanced age alive. But just giving an example, while you're going to your grandchildren's in Kern County, while you're going to the skating rink in Burbank. The entity that is gang stalking remains a part of that pattern of conduct based on the nature of the crime. The government is relying on a population. They are engaging in teamwork, and you remain subject to that pattern of conduct on a 24-hour basis in the same way that the target individual remains subject to a population that is bullying one person, which is the conduct of cowards and psychopaths and predators, murderers, rapists. Okay, those are the type of people who are gang stalking. That's not hyperbolic speech. That's not merely my opining about what I think. That is what sex offenders, gang stalkers do, and they derive pleasure from it. This is the work of Satan. The demon possessed are working for the Ontario Police Department. The demon possessed are working for the Ontario International Airport. They work for the city of Ontario. They fill the apartments at Woodside Senior Apartments. They are sitting around stalking like psychopaths, fully defeated in their criminal endeavors, listening and then engaging in, let's fly over in a plane now because we don't like what she's saying. These are the mentally inept and woefully unprepared demon possessed terrorists who are going to be prosecuted. Plane activity amplified at 1:02 p.m. The Ontario International Airport, the entire operation, they're going to produce their own identities, and they're going to prison where such psychopaths and threats to national security belong. This is a circus environment. It's a danger to children, as are the demons who are gang stalking are a danger to children and everyone vulnerable in that environment. And while the city of Ontario is gang stalking by the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police, everybody at Woodside Senior Apartments being prosecuted for it. All right. And that's how you are witnessing the implosion of federal group stalking and monitoring, a bully system where a lot of unintelligent people got together and thought that they were going to silently execute someone. And turns out they are being prosecuted for everything that they engage in as an entity. You like to gang stalk by planes, you're going to prison, and everybody gang stalking with you at the venue where I'm at is going to prison as well in units 33 through 64. Linda Reyes is enjoying her Saturday off. If she's off today, she's going to prison. She's racking up more federal time while the city of Ontario is gang stalking over the venue where she works. And she has no constitutionally protected right to be in that to have that status. It's criminal facilitation to an intolerable degree. She's also engaged in ceaseless psychological torture, while the demons, whom she's gang stalking with as a matter of video evidence, by the way, She's gang stalking with them while they remain surrounding me at the venue, coming onto the grounds. The whole population comes onto the property and is capable of coming onto the property, while the gate code, by the way, is a matter of public information, just like the moments when I pull my panties down. It's a matter of public information so that a bunch of sex offenders can stalk in the parking lot and engage in flashing their light activity while the entity flies over in planes and helicopter because they're all excited that I'm spreading my legs apart. And the demon upstairs at 55 is bouncing bowling balls up and down. Okay, that's what sex offenders do. That's what the demon possessed do. They're the living dead pacing around in engineered light, and they're monitoring, they're stalking. And that mental illness that is shared by a population is a national security threat. Not only do we look un-American in the United States on an international scene, we look like a bunch of psychopaths. We look crazy on the world scene. Based on what the states are doing, based on what I am exposing my government, my so-called government is doing to me, an American citizen, having every right to vocalize every aspect of the criminal conduct that I remain subject to. And I know my rights. I know the Constitution and I know how to spell it. All right, the entity is engaging in this conduct with impunity. And I want to make sure that I identify by name. At 10:47 a.m., the demons began amplifying audible activity. And this is, again, a bunch of demons. So let's get into the mind of a psychopath. A bunch of sex offenders who are under no circumstances avoiding federal prison engage in ongoing psychological torture after they sit around ruminating about how angry they are regarding the video that I captured during the 9 a.m. hour of the fake sun. And this is the entity that's bringing judgment on itself. You're gang stalking me. You're monitoring me. You're obsessed with my genitalia. You're obsessed with my nudity, what I'm doing in a private space. I did not put myself on the internet. I did not ask or solicit your attention. I didn't tell you, please stalk me. Please follow me around. Please keep me under surveillance. Please sit around stalking in the parking lot like a weirdo while you are on alert regarding what I'm doing inside of what is a private space, which you have no business knowing about, but you do because you're a demon-possessed psychopath who's stalking with the government. I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for any of that. Neither does any American citizen reasonably under any circumstances. I don't care if you are into putting your nude body on the internet. It is not soliciting the government or giving them consent to keep you under surveillance. But I'm not even that. Far from it, never have been, and I never will be. But it does not equal consent to the state to keep you under surveillance and monitor your genitalia. Unless you're in there putting your genitalia on camera, the government doesn't have a right to keep you under surveillance doing so with a bunch of sex offenders that are monitoring you and doing so in the most absurdly psychotic way. You're living at a crime scene. You're stalking. You're over 55 years old. You're gang stalking your own daughter and you think nobody sees how psychotic you are. You're going into a mental ward. You can hide away at quote unquote work all day long. You're going away for the rest of your life because you plan to murder me. And since I'm alive, surprise, surprise, you're going away for the rest of your life. And the entity that is gang stalking with people like Tracy Banks, all right, and so-called family members like Eric Corey Spencer, gang stalking your own relatives, and you think that you're going to get some sort of bankroll off of that, you're going to prison. That's where you're going. You're going to prison where life flunkies like that belong, who are monitoring me. While the public entity is monitoring me, Eric Corey Spencer and Tracy Banks are a part of it. They know exactly what's going on. They're engaged in federal stalking under Title 18. They remain a part of the same entity. You are gang stalking. You don't have to be physically in the path while your family members are part of the P.O.C. They're all going to prison. The entity is doing so with impunity. And as I'm documenting at 10:47 a.m., the demons of units 33 through 64, who merely represent the people of the state who are physically in my path, surrounding me all day and all night. Since you want to help the government so bad, you want to go to federal prison. That's what you're begging for, and that's what you're going to get. You're going to prison. All right. The entity is doing so at 10:49 a.m. This is where the psychological torture tactic is to repeat that which the demons are obsessively watching you. It gets your attention. It gets her attention. These are psychopaths. They're monitoring. These are elderly people who have the amazing ability to create earthquakes and sound like bowling balls or are all over sounding inside of the apartment, but then you'll see them on video and they want you to see an old biddy crawling by under the fake sun in engineered light in an environment that is not reconciled with what I'm capturing at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, even at the same time from the beginning to the end of the day. But what Satan wants you to focus on is this old biddy that's crawling past, crossing path, whether you're on a skateboard, whether you're at a helicopter, or whether you're on a walker. You're crossing path, you're stalking conspicuously. That's quite audacious, all right? Conspicuous stalking is met with federal prison. You're living at a crime scene. You're going to prison, all right? And you're doing so while you're also keeping the evidence of a whistleblower under surveillance. You're keeping the evidence of a federal prosecutor. It doesn't get any more foolish than what the demons are doing. They're going to prison, every single last one of them. They've been gang stalking for over 7 years. They're going for a minimum of 7 years. But that's not that. They're acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. They've kidnapped on more than one occasion. They've engaged in sex trafficking. They've engaged in kidnapping with the government with the intent to criminally defame, falsely depict as one suffering mental illness. That's high malice. When you're engaged in psychological torture, oh, that means you're targeting someone and you mean to cause them to try to have a mental breakdown so you can point the finger. Oh, look, she's crazy. We need to put her, he or she is crazy. We need to put them in a mental asylum. That's called malice. It's the P.O.C. It's called criminal defamation. And you have a bunch of unemployed, elderly, demon-possessed sex offenders monitoring my genitalia. And I very cool and calmly prosecute them. And I point out every aspect of their mindset, which is highly demented, and what justice requires for targeting an American citizen who would be in my same exact position. They're either already dead or they're sitting around kidnapped right now, suffering in silence. That's why they're going to federal prison at Woodside Senior Apartments. That's why they're going to federal prison gang stalking on commercial planes. That's why they're going to federal prison gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. These are murderers. These are predators. While I am inside of this unit and I begin documenting in text, which the WSA-the People document will show 10:47 a.m., the psychological torture tactic is to repeat that which you are documenting. And remember, I'm documenting. So with regard to the ordinary target individual that's not documenting, psychological torture, what Satan employs is to engage in more of that which Satan is hoping that will bother you, will drive you up a wall, will cause you to start thinking about killing yourself, will cause you to have a mental breakdown, will cause you to question your sanity, will cause you to perhaps act out against other people who are targeting you, but will falsely depict you as being one that is just inexplicably disturbed. That's malice. That's malice. This is how treacherous the state of California is. And you've got the elderly over 55. This is no compassionate population. They're going to be treated like every other barbarian, every other sex offender over or under the age of 18. You're not going to be treated any different. And my documentation is replete with evidence showing that no demon-possessed elderly person should be treated any differently. They're barbarians. They're Neanderthals. They're animals. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and I want to be clear, AVANATH Capital Management. Gerald J. Carter, this is the chairman and CEO of AVANATH, who is being documented for, and civilly and criminally, AVANATH Capital Management, a threat to the national security, because this company that is maliciously aiding and engaging in group stalking with the state, with the people of the state, using their property as a means to help the government target an American citizen that they are seeking to murder and kidnap, and are obsessed with the genitalia of that person, while they sit around masturbating and having sex rituals with each other, while they derive pleasure from voyeurism, watching that targeted individual in the nude, absent any knowledge of that targeted individual, while they're watching you react, while they're stalking you in helicopters and amplifying all manner of demonic noise inside of the apartment. Sex offenders like to masturbate, and while they watch you suffer in that manner. These are the psychopaths who are the ticking time bombs in the state of California. And many of them, they dress up really nice. Many of them are celebrities. Many of them are politicians. Many of them are over 55 elderly people. Many of them are relatives of yours. You might know their name. Many of them go to school. Many of them are decorated in the military. Many of them are, like the Ontario Police Department, a part of law enforcement. They work for the fire department. They work for the city, the municipality. Many of them drive school buses. They have access to minor children. And then you act surprised when you see the egregious conduct that is happening with regard to minor children in the state, why they are acting out the way they are, why they are becoming more and more corrupt at a younger and younger age. Because look at who is giving birth to them. Look at who is raising them. Satan himself. I just want to make sure that it's clear. AVANATH Capital Management is being documented at what is 12:33 p.m. with simultaneity to the operation of my communication device, which is in conformity to the pattern of conduct. At 12:33 p.m., the entity is keeping the fake sun over Alvarado Gardens today on February 15th, 2024. I documented the entity rising and setting a fake sun while I stayed at the same exact apartment, 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California. There is no natural environment that includes the sun being over Woodside Senior Apartments, but that's exactly what you've been witnessing as I returned to Ontario as of about approximately September 2024. Daylight savings time ended in November of 2024. You have what is the same time of year, same time of day analysis. The duration of time is speaking to a supernatural phenomenon. The juxtaposition of the two crime scenes is speaking to the supernatural phenomenon. This is the prosecution of landlords in the state of California that are monitoring American citizens, those that are governed by federal laws such as the HUD regulated property, that is Woodside Senior Apartments. This is speaking to what needs to change regarding the federal law in this state. They are seeking to participate, like speaker companies in AVANATH, in federal housing programs while they are targeting American citizens. They're doing it with the criminals that they're receiving their rent payments from. They're doing it in concert with the government while they participate in the government programs. I cannot any more clearly articulate the heights of hypocrisy that are at play here. You shall be prosecuted as a domestic terrorist, as a group stalker, as a sex offender by company name. Yes, you shall. Yes, absolutely. This is what the entity lends to the state in order to gang stalk. This is how you have demons gang stalking by company name, because you're not supposed to be able to tell that delivering a package is the same exact criminal elements of monitoring with the same exact entity. You're not supposed to engage in that level of analysis and attention to detail, but you are. You're paying attention. You're witnessing it. You're not ignorant anymore. And you will be prosecuted as a sex offender by company name. That's exposing you to civil and criminal prosecution. That employee bearing that logo, they have their own prosecution to deal with that company cannot help them with. This is not tortious conduct. It's criminal conduct. It's terrorism, domestic terrorism, unprecedented criminal activity. Helping the state keep an American citizen under surveillance. These are all the tactics employed by a wildly corrupt government that is not as bright, not as shrewd, not as clever as it thought it was. It is currently, again, 1:17 p.m. And Daryl J. Carter, this is the name of the chairman and the CEO, who is, again, not reasonably ignorant, nor under the law shall you be. You shall be held accountable regarding what the company is engaged in, the threat that you pose to national security, as your company has many properties throughout the state of California, and you are fully devoted and committed to gang stalking American citizens, and then moreover, psychologically torturing, threatening their life, their safety, their well-being, even sexually targeting them while you are reported to the federal government. This is what AVANATH is documented as engaging in through its employees, through its gang stalking residents, who are on its property, who are gang stalking with the government that's using AVANATH's property, and who are gang stalking with the population who come onto and who surround AVANATH's property. A system that is designed to result in what is the loss of life of the ordinary targeted individual. Okay, you're talking about the absence of any right, and there's just with regard to the balance of interests. The balance of interests far outweigh any corporation's claim that you absolutely should, and you shall be held accountable. All right. And that's just based on what is reasonable with regard to also now no one can fake, because I want to be clear what I've exposed about the pattern of conduct, about what the state of California is doing, which is what the states are doing in this country. It's not a matter of ignorance. This is a matter of no one can deny it anymore. It's proven beyond a reasonable doubt. It's proven to the extent to where you can't act stupid anymore. And with that comes responsibility. And so those that had no intention ever of removing themselves from gang stalking, like these gang stalking airlines, oh, you now have a responsibility now. Because where the pattern of conduct is underway and you are documented, your property is a means of criminal surveillance by the state. You're liable for what the state is doing on your grounds, in your sky space, especially while you make money and it's underway. That is a federal no-no. That's absolutely absurd regarding policy, how you're disincentivizing domestic terrorism in this country. And you will have a responsibility for that, which you are engaged in. This is malicious. Every single company that operates in the state of California is engaged in federal stalking. Every single last one of them. They're engaged in Title 18 federal stalking. You're all under surveillance. We do not actually have any privacy. This is an illusion that really needs to go. It's ridiculous now. Okay. You do not actually have any privacy. You're under surveillance inside of your home. What the entity has done to me, the entity sought to murder and kidnap me and thought that they were going to do it and make money off of my name, steal my property, falsely depict my character in doing so. And so Christ Jesus has decided he's exposing everything and he's judging it also. That's what's happening. But you are under surveillance, my friend, whoever you are listening to me. You're under surveillance. You don't have any privacy, whatever state you're in this country. This is an ongoing illusion. Okay, that does not mean, and I do not support the notion. I am an advocate of law. I studied the law. I did study politics. I believe in what is that system in the abstract. It is ideal with regard to the way that the Constitution operates. It's designed to operate. It's designed to benefit American citizens and limit the government, a constitutional government. It is fully capable of being executed, but it's all based on whose hands it's in. If you've got a bunch of demons in the executive branch, you're going to have inevitable corruption. No matter how wonderful, no matter how ideal those laws are, the laws exist in and of themselves. It's about removing the cockroaches who are stealing positions where legitimate and upright people with integrity can hold office. That's what the issue is here. This is exposing public corruption. And it's also making the entity accountable. And it starts with prison. Woodside Senior Apartments, they're all going to prison. So the entity is engaging in what is ongoing terrorism. And 12:33 p.m., this demon hasn't flinched since I started recording this documentation, this podcast. I want to be clear, these animals, as I document, you hear me in video after video, podcast after podcast, I am describing what are animals. They're animals. And what is a threat? Because animals are engaging in what is the absence of reasoning. Okay, so you're going to prison at this point. This is no longer some secret society. Nobody knows what you're doing. Nobody sees you. Oh, you just look like you're strolling on your rollerblades, and nobody rollerblades anymore. But you don't look like you're just strolling, getting your aerobics on, jogging on the street. No, it's fully shown what you're doing, and regardless, because there will be no debating with a bunch of terrorists, with a bunch of demons in court. The evidence itself serves for prosecuting the entity, and you shall be held liable. If you don't like being prosecuted as a sex offender under the name of your logo, take it up with the government. Take it up with the state. Take it up with the state, because the state's the one using your government. And I want to be clear, the state and these companies, they're holding hands. They're targeting American citizens together. They're making money while they do it. So that is getting right to the core of how this whole system operates. And it's not just at the local level, at the state level, it's also at the federal level. It is currently 1:23 p.m. This is documentation of ongoing psychological torture. The demons that are inside units 33 through 64, they're gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport. That's maintaining 24-hour surveillance. This airport is going to be shut down. It poses a threat to the lives of American citizens while it remains in operation. The Ontario Police Department is going to be disbanded. The same. They're murderers. They're stalkers. This is the abuse of law enforcement, the agency itself. It's a threat to your life when you call the police, even to these demon-possessed gang stalkers. But they're lost. They're in darkness. They can't even appreciate that. And they're exactly where Satan wants them. But they are a threat to the public. They're a scab, a wound, an infection, a pus-filled infection while they remain in existence. And they are going to be disbanded. They have kidnapped one too many times. They've gang stalked in helicopter one too many times. I've documented one too many of these demons by badge number and license plate. They're going to be disbanded. All right. It is currently 1:24 p.m. and it is Saturday, February 15, 2025. The entity kept the light source over the Alvarado Gardens apartments in Los Angeles, California, which is ongoing relevant context that is serving to prosecute the state of California. But you can always juxtapose as I show you, because how are you understanding and recognizing the P.O.C? How are you learning about what Satan is doing? How are you understanding the times that we are in? One example after another, which is what I've given you. So that you will learn, so that you will know, so that your eyes will be open, so that you will not be ignorant. And it does take an amount of time to gather that amount of evidence, to have such a wealth of evidence at my disposal in order to make whatever argument to prosecute whatever demon is in my face. All right. It's currently 1:25 p.m. Again, it's Saturday, February 15, 2025. This is the podcast commentary, and you heard the videos that are published beforehand. I remain subject to this sex offense. It's a perpetual sex offense. I'm under surveillance inside of a private space. And the entity is doing so with outright disregard for the consequences. And that is directly relevant to the public officials who are going to have to address what they are engaging in. And do not be forgetful. Do not be short-sighted. Do not forget their attitude toward what they are engaging, what they know is underway of an American citizen. They know every time I utter their name. They know exactly what I'm doing in the bathroom. They know exactly who I'm documenting. And their posture toward the Constitution, toward American citizens enforcing their rights, it is shown through the conduct of the people of the state. It is shown through the pattern of conduct that I remain subject to. That's their true attitude. Don't listen to the mere audible activity coming out of the faces of these demons who are going to be publicly exposed in the state of California. It's currently, again, 1:26 p.m. This is P.O.C.